Ambassador Spock, circa stardate 45825. Coordinates redacted. Retrieved from classified archive. The personal files of Admiral Jean-Luc Picard.
Play.
Closed minds have kept these two worlds apart for centuries. We can either choose to live with that enmity or seek a way to change it. The union of the Vulcan and the Romulan people will not be achieved by politics or by diplomacy. But it will be achieved. Like the first Vulcans, these people are struggling toward a new enlightenment. And it may take decades or even centuries for them to reach it, but they will reach it. And I must help.
Welcome, everyone, to Deep Space Pride, a gay Star Trek podcast. I am Johnson, one of your co-hosts, and with me is Mike Thurlow, my co-host. Mike, how are you this fine Sunday?
I am doing pretty good, Johnson. How are you?
I'm doing okay. It's cold in New York, so I haven't really gone out this weekend, and it's supposed to snow, 12 to 16 inches maybe tomorrow, Tuesday?
Yeah,
so
we're supposed to get up to 18 inches of snow. Which
well,
in
TBD.
the city,
we'll see what happens.
Yeah, in the city, it means like 6 inches maybe, because you like the way that the city
half
works.
of it melts immediately.
Yeah, right. So, yeah.
I mean, is it really going to make a difference? Because I'm not going to go outside anyway. It wouldn't.
Right.
It's not like I would have gone outside to frolic. So again, I'm not sure I'm missing anything.
For our listeners to note, Johnson does not frolic. There we go.
Frolic. I also can stay indoors for 5 days in a row and be fine.
Yes, you do.
And then I go outside. I'm like, wait, why does this feel weird? Oh, it's because I haven't gone outside in 5 days. So.
Yes, you're very good with lockdown and quarantine. You're fine.
Permit in the making.
Yeah. I went out today actually to pick up a few things. So there were a few flurries in the air, like kind of the,
is it
cold?
Cold?
Spitting. I mean, I was bundled up, so I was not cold, and I was carrying some groceries, so it was. I was not cold. So yeah. But it's cold.
You were exerting yourself, so
I was exerting myself, so therefore I was not cold, and I was bundled up. So yeah, went out to pick up a few things before
the crazy.
Before the crazy, yeah. And it wasn't actually busy. It wasn't crazy. I mean, people weren't. I think people in New York City are just used to like bad weather, and if they need something, they'll just go to the bodega on the corner or whatever and get it.
Yeah, it's not that hard.
We're not really a city that we don't shut down unless.
Wait, have you ever like filled up the bathtub with water? Have you done that before?
Yes,
in New York.
Yes.
So I'm like incredulous every time they say, "Oh, you should do this," like around even like Sandy and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I was like, if the water really stops, that is a problem. Like that's never happened to me ever in New York City, like ever. But yeah, if it actually happened, that would be really bad.
Right. And it didn't happen, at least for me and Sandy, although I would never want to relive what I went through in Sandy, without power for 5 days.
Oh, you actually lost power for 5 days?
I was living in Chelsea, so we were below.
Oh, that's suboptimal.
Yeah, I was below
fine.
Yes, you were fine. I was below 28th Street, and everything below 28th Street was killed, or not killed, was dead because of the
grid.
The grid was out. Yes. Whatever happened, yes.
Power plants,
blocked it up. Yeah, so I blocked it out of my mind. But that was a pretty horrible experience.
Oh, that's bad.
And there was no cell phone service either. So I had to go to the corner. Like I lived in the middle of a block, and there was no cell phone service in my apartment. And it was not pleasant. It was not pleasant at all.
Oh, that's too bad.
Wow.
But could
we
you
have not
imagine
had
having to drink water from the bathtub?
well,
Like,
you don't drink, so you don't drink it from the
is it not
bathtub.
for
You
drinking
just
purposes?
yeah, after you boil it and cool it down.
Oh God, I cannot imagine drinking bathtub water. I would like,
It's the
I would drink
same
some and then throw up. I
water.
would drink some and throw up.
It is
Like,
literally the same water.
that would be the visual. Like all over the place. I would throw up into the bathtub, and I can't drink any of this. So
It's the
that's your
same
problem.
water. Literally the same water. Oh my gosh.
Anyway,
So there we go.
all right.
Anyway, well,
all right. Well, this episode, welcome to episode 21 of Deep Space Pride. We are going to be doing our review of Star Trek Discovery Season 3. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look back at some of our high-level thoughts, some of our favorite things, least favorite things, some episode highlights, lowlights, and also, for those of you that may recall, we did a preview before the premiere of Season 3, Episode 1, of things that we were hoping to see going into the new season. We're going to revisit that a little bit. So yeah, it's going to be kind of a start to finish overview of Discovery Season 3.
Sounds good. Before we dive in, we wanted to give a shout out to Fansets, the presenting sponsor of the Trek Geeks podcast network. When I first started listening to Bill and Dan over on Discovering Trek, which is the first podcast series that I listened to on this network, they were really excited because Fansets was their sponsor right from the beginning. And so that's where I found out about pins. And I don't think I started collecting them until maybe a little bit later on. But since then, I've collected, I don't know, 20 or 30 of them. And
But have you always been into like collectibles and things?
Well, yeah. I mean, I've always been into like the novels, the pocket novels. I collected all
books or something else. I'm talking about like tchotchkes.
No, I've not been into a lot of tchotchkes, although I do have a few of the Starship collection from Eagle Moss. So I have collected,
Eagle Moss, not a presenting sponsor.
Not a presenting sponsor, but I have,
yeah.
Right. I do have a few of those, but right now all that is displayed is the Enterprise from Discovery. So, and actually the only other ship that I got from the Discovery line was actually the Discovery. So, but I've gotten a few of the other ones, like I have an Enterprise D, a Defiant, things like that. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're talking about pins. And
yes, pins.
So I forget. I definitely met the guys from Fansets at, I think, New York Comic Con a couple of years ago is when I first started. So it was after I started listening to Discovering Trek. I knew about them. I think maybe they must have said that they were going to be at New York Comic Con. And so I went and met them.
So you actually like sought them out?
Yeah. So, I mean, with New York Comic Con or any convention, you kind of like look at all of the vendors and you figure out which ones you really want to go see. Also, you kind of base that upon like any exclusives or special things that they might be launching or selling that you want to get your hands on early. So I don't remember. They did. Oh yeah. So they did sponsor a pin, and it's actually in the pin board I'm working on for New York Comic Con 2017. That's actually when I first met them.
Oh.
So I went to their booth and bought that pin and a few others. I think I got the Shenzhou pin and maybe one or two others at that time. So I started pretty small. And then as newer pins came out, I really was excited to get some of the Starship ones. And then they started doing the Women of Trek ones. And one of the special ones that they launched with the first round was a Uhura one that had a sparkly background, and they made a special thing of that. And so I ended up buying that one. And then finally Jadzia came out. So I'm not collecting the whole collection, but I'm collecting like my favorite women of Star Trek. So yeah, so that's sort of how I still need to finish my pin board. That's
been in progress for a while.
It has. Well, it's been on hold for a while, actually. So it's
Why it's been on hold?
other projects, other things have kind of taken precedence.
Life.
Life has taken precedence. Sure, yeah, that too.
Mhm.
So, and I need to do so I built it, and then I went to close it up, and the board and the back was too thick around the edges and wouldn't fit into the frame anymore. So I have to go back and like cut it down a little bit, but I had already glued it.
Fascinating. Yes.
I already glued it. It was quite a project to put it together, but
Mm-hmm.
now so I've been dreading the work that I'm gonna have to put into it to take it apart and cut it down so that it actually fits into the frame this time. So that's why it's been on hold. It's a bit more than just like putting more pins in it.
Because it's all DIY.
Yes, it is DIY, and
Yeah.
so other things have kind of taken precedence, including reorganizing everything so I can build out a home office. So I know you're not into pins. You're not
No,
into
but I support
anything.
you. I support you in your endeavors because I'm not into collecting things. We've talked about this before. I have stuff, obviously. They're like, it's like scurried away. I'm like I'm a squirrel. I'll like collect all the things. Like, for me, it's like more kind of like board games, but it's like kind of hidden away for another day. Like the only other thing that I would like say I collect is like coral, kind of for my saltwater tank. But I'm not really into like, I mean, the reason why for our listeners, why Mike is kind of going off and talking about, his experience with fan sets is because I don't collect things like that. Because the thing about pins and tchotchkes and things like that is that literally the whole point of collecting them is you display them somewhere. Meanwhile, I'm like scurrying things away, hiding things from sight, which is the exact opposite of what you want to do when it comes to like collectibles like that. So
That's true.
Yeah, for me anyway, I'm like, no, thank you. But I appreciate your endeavors.
Well,
And I
and
support you from afar.
well, thank you for your support, Johnson. I do appreciate the positive affirmations that you give me.
Yeah,
And I do want to
positive.
say that you do have one pin that I gave you. So
that I have displayed.
You do have the Picard badge that I bought you as a gift.
But that's enough.
Displayed.
Don't give me any more. You give me some other ones, and I don't even know where they are anymore. I put them away, and they're never gonna see the light of day until I die.
Well, the other one I thought about getting you that I think you'd appreciate and you might actually display is Boimler.
Oh, I would put them anywhere. I mean, I would appreciate it, but then I'm like, what do I do with this now?
Well, I mean, I would give you the stand to put it in, and you could put them right next to...
There's no more space. The bookshelf is full.
It is not full. Stop it.
All right.
Boimler is literally an inch wide.
There's plenty of stuff.
Oh my gosh. You are too much. Anyway. Well, so there are so many different pins, and if you, our dear listeners, want to pick up some fans and get a little bit of a discount for listening to us, you can use the code DSPRIDE, all one word, all in caps, and you'll get 10% off your next order. And on top of that, so I talked a little bit about the 2 Women of Trek that I have so far. And Fansets is getting ready to start the 3rd series of their ongoing Women of Trek collection. And they want help from us, all of the Trek Geeks podcast listeners. So if you go to trekgeeks.com/vote, you can put your information in there and give the name of the Woman of Trek that you would like to see next. And at the end of the contest, which we don't know the exact end of the date, but we do know that on April 1st, they're gonna pick a winner. And if you are the winner, you'll win a complete set of the Women of Trek Master Set, which was the first one they did. And they put it really nicely in this nice case. There's like, I think 9 or 10 pins. And you'll also win but it's already framed, so you don't need to do anything, Johnson. All you would need to do is hang it up.
It's like more things.
Hang it up. And you're also going to win a set of Series 2 pins. And they've recently come out with Tilly, T'Pol. I can't even think of who's coming out next off the top of my head, but They're really great. So if you have some favorite women of Trek, whether you get the whole collection or just get one or two like I have, go ahead and use the code DS Pride and get 10% off your whole order. And if you're in the US and you spend $30, you'll get free shipping. So
it's free
there
shipping.
you go.
Well, anyway, there it is. Thank you, Mike, for telling us all about your pin board. That was riveting. But, I support our listeners as well and all your consumerist endeavors and, endeavors for tchotchkes and more things for where you live, whether it be your apartment or house. So as Saru would like to say, hit it. Anyway, that's it. So why don't we get into, unless you had anything else to say about pins and...
No. I think it's time to get into
everything?
I think it's time to get into our Discovery Season 3 review.
Let's go.
What's the latest?
The mining vessel Coloma is waiting for us at the dilithium planet. First deliveries are 2 Federation worlds, 5 non-Federation worlds, and 1 starbase that would like to thank us with their signature gelato.
All right, then. Everybody ready?
Yes, Captain.
Let's fly.
Why don't we get into the meat of the episode and talk about Discovery Season 3. So the first thing that I thought it'd be great for us to do is to just kind of go over kind of our high level thoughts about this season and how we would compare it to other seasons of Discovery. So Mike, do you want to go first?
Sure. So my high level thoughts on Season 3, and
that's
then
exactly
compare
what
it
I
to
just
other.
said. Yes, wherever you want to take it. I'll
You
go
are
along with you. I'll
you
go
have-
along with you for the ride.
You have brought extra sarcasm to the party today.
Have
I hope our listeners are appreciating that. So anyway, here we go.
Yeah.
Here's what
Anyway.
I thought. Here's what I think about Discovery, and I did spend some time really thinking about this because I really wanted to have my thoughts kind of collated in a way that was
Because
coherent.
usually it's just like all over the place.
Usually it's just whatever.
Scatterbrained.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But this time I actually did my homework.
Mhm.
So this,
Oh yeah, listeners, we were like preparing for this podcast, and Mike was like taking all the notes, and I was like, what is there to even like collect in terms of your thoughts? I don't understand. He's just like going for, I don't know, a good grade or something. Anyway, continue.
Thank you. Yes, I mean, I wanted to sound intelligent about this whole thing. So, but here's my initial thought, or some of my high level thoughts about
I'm ready.
The season. Are you?
Yes.
Here we go.
Yes.
So, one thing about Discovery that I've realized over these 3 seasons, and especially this season, because we were entering a whole new like time frame, so it requires. I think with Discovery, one of the things that happens is that it requires actually a lot of patience, and you have to be in it for the whole ride, because the payoffs are usually slower than you would like. But I think the return on investment is worth it ultimately. So, and this season is no exception. As we kind of chatted before, and in preparing for this, I also listened to our preview episode, and we referenced some things from previous seasons, the arc of the Red Angel and things like that. Yes, we we know you don't like that. But so season 3 follows that same kind of structure. Like they really draw it out.
For better or for worse.
Continue. Yeah. And I think there's ample evidence on both sides that it is for better and also for worse.
Yeah.
So once again, you have to have patience for this season. Things are drawn out. You don't not just about the burn, but the Federation gets drawn out, like what all of those things that we wanted to know what the 32nd century was all about. Also what happens to Michelle Yeoh's character, Emperor Georgiou, that was drawn out. And also, even more so, something that was kind of close and to our hearts was who is Adira and who is Gray. That's definitely been drawn out as well. And so you kind of have to have a bit of patience with Discovery as they kind of let
Which I
this
think
all
is
come
okay.
out.
I think it's okay to like drop these seeds and kind of let them germinate. I'm like, going into all these like horticulture terms for whatever reason. But I think that's okay. I think like especially a lot of serialized storytelling, they'll like drop like, their foreshadow, and then it's like, episodes later, they'll kind of come back to it. I think there's definitely ways of doing that really well. Personally, I think Discovery is a little hit or miss with it. And I think, but fundamentally speaking, I think that kind of storytelling is totally fine, especially in today's era where we're not talking about 20 episode seasons, only like 10 to 13 episodes,
Exactly.
especially
Yeah.
in binge era, so sometimes you're
Yeah.
not gonna, it's actually not that long of a wait to kind of get some of these answers when
Yeah.
you think about it.
Yeah, I think though that that Star Trek fans expect a little bit more. And also I think that it would be great if the seeds that were germinating were kind of grown a little bit more speedily. So I think there needs to be, in the future, and not that any Star Trek Discovery
Are we giving them
producer,
feedback? And
is
Michelle
listening.
Paradise, just note
Yes,
for future
just know,
reference.
right?
Yes,
Exactly. Yeah.
please,
No,
please.
I'm sure she's not listening to us, but if she were, I would say like give us a little bit more along the way. Like I think smaller arcs are good, would be nice. Maybe one overarching thing, but certainly smaller arcs, and you can kind of see that in this season. But I don't think that the payoffs are quite as great. Like especially this season where we're going into a new universe, into a new galaxy, into a new time frame, and we don't really learn much because you learn it piecemeal. Yeah, it was great and one of my favorite things, and we'll get to that later, is going to Earth and places like that. But
Sure.
I think there just needs to be a little bit more payoff sooner for the fans who are really investing in this. The other thing that I think that this season in particular what was really great about this was, rather than having to deal with the whole question of how are they going to make this fit into canon, we get a
Thank God.
perspective. Yeah, we get a perspective or a way to say to see it as what is new about this world and how do we fit in here. So it's in the first episode we get to see the programmable matter, which is really cool. I mean, so there's a lot of
Are you talking about like the whole concept of it being prequel to start, and then they're trying to fit it into the context of
exactly
yeah, I feel that they were just, first of all, I think that's kind of like hindering yourself from the beginning. Like so many people complain about Enterprise, so you would think that the next series after Enterprise, they would kind of learn their lesson, because so many people complain about Enterprise. But it's like, let's do another prequel. It's like, what? Like, why? And so many people complain about it, and you run into all these like canon issues, and people are complaining about like the technology. People are hating on it. You might as well just like, I don't know why you even do that. Just be like, just
well, I mean,
and like,
I'll tell you two things that
can't wait.
that are worth it for that reason. Captain Pike and Lieutenant Spock. And Strange New Worlds, things that we wouldn't have gotten if they had set this in the 32nd century to begin with. So
I guess
I think there was some payoff, and I think that's an important piece of it.
I mean, yeah, it's nice, but I'm sure people are going to be bitching so much about Strange New Worlds. Like there's going to be like, how is it gonna fit? Like, oh, this is like the Spock before the cage, doesn't make sense, blah blah blah, whatever. I mean, like, I go back and forth on it. I think that if it can be done well, and I think that the one thing I would say about Pike is that we know so little about him, and also number one, that it's treading a little bit less so on sacred ground. You know what I mean? Like Spock, I think is going to be, we'll see what they do with Spock. But because we know so little about Captain Pike and his adventures before we're introduced to him in the cage, I think there's like just so much to explore there because there's not much.
Well, so remember the
cage
has already happened. So the cage happened before Discovery, technically.
Oh yes. Sorry, it's
so
what's that episode? What's that episode of TOS? Sorry, when they go back.
Not the cage.
See, this is where my TOS knowledge really is lacking.
Yeah,
but
it was a two-parter.
It's the episode where they reuse footage from the cage.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I can't think of it, and it's going to bother me. So yeah, I mean, so we do get that out of this whole idea, but now in the third season and going into the fourth season, we don't have to fit into canon.
Thank God.
So we get to build new things and make whatever we want. And I think, gosh, whoever came up with programmable matter, what a great idea. However, they overused it in the finale, perhaps, and we've talked ad nauseum on that. Yeah, so I think that's another high level thing about this season that I really like is that we don't have to play in the canon toolbox anymore.
Yeah.
We get to set a whole new world.
Yes. Yes.
And the final thing I would say about this season is that we were, and again, you can't really see it until the end, and we didn't really hear it till the end, but if you look back, it does make sense in a lot of ways. So we came into this season thinking that the burn was going to be the big thing. It was the big thing overall. I mean, it covered 13 episodes. Osira came in about episode 6 or 7. I forget which one.
Yeah.
So she became the big bad halfway through. But ultimately, as we learn in the finale, with Michael's kind of personal log overview, as they were returning to Federation headquarters, it's the theme of this season specifically has been connection and disconnection. And
I still kind of feel it's a little shoehorned in, but continue.
I don't think it is. I think looking at it from every episode, if you just look at the listing on CBS All Access and look at the episode, you can either say, are they experiencing connection or disconnection or both?
But we talked
I think
about
you
this.
can check the box. But however,
we don't need to get into it. I mean, we talked about this, but I feel
but I think it's one of the big themes for the season. And I also think that based upon that, it is very appropriate given that the year that we've just kind of gone through in 2020.
Sure.
So I think that it once again, Star Trek spoke to the time, whether we knew it or not. In a lot of ways, it spoke to the time that we're in. And that's also what I think. I think this season did better than its previous 2 incarnations.
So how would you grade this rather, compared to the seasons 1 and 2 of Discovery?
That's hard. I gave it a score of 9, because if you look at the season as a whole, and I really like when I was thinking about this, maybe a 9 is high, but in every episode, I can find something that I enjoyed, something that was pivotal. I may have not enjoyed everything about that episode. Certainly the bottom ones, there's fewer things to find. But when we get to my 3/4 favorite things, and also when we talk about the things that I was looking forward to this season, I think that overall it met all of my kind of expectations in that way. And also it was 13 weeks of Star Trek, new Star Trek, and getting us through from October to the beginning of 2020, I think was 2021 rather, was great to have it there. And so it's not a perfect season. I don't think that there is any
9's
perfect
very high
season.
then.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy that I'm happy with it. I'm not, it had some things that I didn't like, and I'll tell you that we'll talk about those in a little bit. But I think overall, I think there's more to love about this season than there is to not love about it.
Okay.
And
cool.
So yeah, those are some of my kind of high level thoughts compared to, and also comparison to other seasons. So
Mhm.
what about you? What are some of your high level thoughts on season 3?
Yeah, I mean, you touched on this a little bit already. I feel that, and we've definitely brought this up in a few episodes of ours, but I feel that the majority of the season is very, I would grade this the same as season 2. Um, since you already gave your grade, I'll give mine. I would give this a 6 out of 10. And I would also give that season 2 a 6 out of 10. I think that like the whole thing about both season 2 and season 3 of Discovery is that they're both, in terms of the way that the story is told, very, I'm going to use this term again, very fetch questy, where they're kind of just going after one thing after another. They're trying to find the next puzzle piece, the next clue, the next task. And I think that it kind of becomes, personally, I thought that it becomes a little repetitive in terms of the narrative structure, in the way that the plot is pushed forward. Obviously, we're getting a lot of these character moments. And, the good character moments are definitely, at least for me, the highlight. But I think there are things like, and this is one of my like least favorite things of the season, but I think that so first of all, there's a narrative structure, which I'm like, it can be a little repetitive, whatever. The other thing is that I just didn't love the world that we came into, like on a broader basis. And what I mean by that is I feel that it isn't that different, because we're talking about like literally 1,000 years, right? That's like going from 1000 AD to 2000 AD. If you think about like how drastically our world changed within that time frame, it's like crazy, right? It's like the amount of advancement in the way that we think, the way that we speak, it's just so crazily different. It's almost unrecognizable, right? And I just don't think, obviously, we have the burn, and that has really impacted the way that the galaxy, a lot of the way that the galaxy and the people within the galaxy, they function and they interact and they connect with one another or whatever. But I didn't really think I feel there was personally a lack of imagination when it comes to how different this world was. Like, for example, the world where people of Earth, right, where they revisit Earth, I was pretty disappointed with how Earth was. Like, I was like, this is really not that different. San Francisco basically looks the same. Like, there's just things like that I'm like, yeah, it wasn't like almost like, I feel there was a kind of a lost opportunity to really change up the paradigm of, the world we were coming into. Because for the most part, everything was really recognizable except for the issue of dilithium. The programmable matter, can't speak today. I thought that was interesting. It's basically like an extension of like just 3D printing or something. Like, and I'm like, okay, it's fine. Like, it's kind of interesting, but everything's basically still the same. Like, it's just like, it's an extension of 3D printing / replicator technology, or even like holographic technology. It's really not that drastically different. Like, even in the first episode where we're introduced to Sahil and we see his, there's some cool effects with like his living space or whatever. I'm like, this could also just be holograms. Is it really that different? So I don't know. I just feel that overall there was just like, it could have been more. And the whole thing with the burn, I know you were more enthusiastic about the outcome and the solution to the mystery, but for me it was kind of like a letdown. It really wasn't that compelling. Like, the solve to it wasn't that compelling.
Right, and I haven't thought about that. So, I looked because we talked about that in previous episodes.
Yeah.
And when I went back and listened to our preview episode, the way that you rated that and the way that I rated that, you rated that as your number one thing.
Yes.
Mine was number 5. And so I think
for me, it was like, so it was bigger, more critical.
Like, yeah, for you, it was more critical. And for me, it wasn't. And that's also why I felt like when I found out about the burn, it made sense. But I'd also like figured out that the burn isn't really the big story here. Our characters are the big story. So um, that's that's I think part of the reason why you might be a little more disappointed is because you put
Yeah.
so much emphasis on the burn, whereas the other two, and we'll get to it, but the other two questions that you had are actually still kind of unresolved, but we do have a better picture of the Federation and the galaxy at large. You lumped that together with the burn, and so it became this big deal for you to have it be
Right.
solved in such a creative and
Yeah,
expansive way.
I think for me, the universe, the world building aspect of it, like the mythology building, is really big for me for Star Trek in general. So for me, like, you know, the world that we came into was different, but it, in some ways, again, like just to repeat myself, like I thought it kind of lacked imagination. Um, and yeah, for me, definitely. I mean, like, you know, maybe it was like because I watched so many promos or something, like the burn was a big deal, and that was like the narrative hook. So I think that's the thing. They hinge a lot of the narrative thrust of these seasons on this big mystery. Same thing with like season 2 and the Red Angel, and then ultimately like Control, whatever. Right? That's a thing that's like driving our characters forward. And obviously you have these character moments that really shine. But it's this bigger mystery that's like pushing things forward, and things are happening around it. So I guess for me, yeah, it was just like meh. There's like a lot of meh, you know, throughout the season, and there were definitely highlights for me. But I just thought there was untapped potential, I suppose. But
Okay.
yeah. So anyway, I rank it the same as season 2.
So did you like these seasons less than the first season?
Yeah, so I loved the first season. I know people
Okay.
hate the first season, but
Wait, so I don't hate the first
no,
season.
people complain about
people.
complained about the
Yeah.
first season,
Yeah.
but you know, like it was just like shiny and new. Some of the science was questionable, but I was like, sure, whatever, I don't care. Jason Isaacs was so good as just like he was just so compelling. Like he stole the show all the time. And then you find out he's from the mirror universe, and then the whole Klingon War backstory. I don't know. I just thought it was so good. I personally just thought it was just a strong season.
Okay.
And
That's
it wasn't all it wasn't all just on one mystery. It wasn't just like one mystery box that they had to solve. Like you had the Klingon War, and that was the spark, right? That kind of thrust things forward. And you had, I think the thing about season 1 as well is that since there was no this season is about this mystery, it was more about the characters, and they were the characters driving the story forward. So there wasn't this expectation of like, you know, like we need to find this, we need to understand what's happening here. There was a Klingon War, yes, but it was more the characters that were kind of pushing things versus this mystery, right? In any case, so yeah,
okay.
so that's yes, I love season 1. Season 1, I'll give like a 9 out of 10.
Oh, okay. All right.
So
okay. All right.
Cool.
Well, should we move on to our next piece, our 3 favorite things and our 3 things that we didn't like about?
Yeah. So why don't we start with things that we liked, and then we can go on to the things that we disliked. And I'll try to not to, you know, go on to this diatribe of like blah, 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 whatever.
Okay.
But why don't you go first about the things that you liked?
Well, so I had 4 things that I really liked, and I know I couldn't.
You can continue enthusiasm.
I could not. You know, I had this one, and I was able to group them together. So my number 4 favorite thing, I'm going to go in reverse order because number 1 is really the important and best part for me of this season.
Okay.
So number 4 is the new types of starships, including the disco refit. So I do love the new disco, the outside. I like the outside.
I wish we got to see the other starships more, though. That's
absolutely. Yeah, but just to glance at them and how different they are. So that is the piece of world building that I really enjoyed. And you know, I love starship porn, and this season had some of it, not enough of it. I agree.
Not enough.
You know, especially in the episode where you know, Osiris trying to escape, and Sukal in the episode Sukal, I think, is when she comes and she's stolen the or is it there is a
Or she's trying to escape from Federation headquarters.
yeah, maybe there's
That's
a
the finale.
no, that's there's a tide. She's trying to escape from Federation. She's already escaped at that point, I think. I don't know. Anyway, whenever it happened, you know, when the other starships were attacking Discovery, we didn't get to see enough of that. Like there should have been some up close shots, and
they're always kind of fuzzy. I don't understand why that is.
I don't either.
Just get sharp images of these starships.
Yeah. So that was my number 4. Number 3.
I want to maybe season 4. I would love to visit another starship.
I agree. Nice. Totally. That would be awesome. I agree.
Please.
Yes. Please. I agree.
Please. Michelle Paradise, please.
Number 3, revisiting old places. So I loved revisiting Earth.
Okay. That was one of mine. I did not love revisiting Earth, but I did love revisiting Vulcan / Navarre and Trill.
Well, we'll get to that. I have a differing opinion on that. I have other thoughts on that. Interesting. So my revisiting old places and old things are Earth, Trill, and the Guardian of Forever. So those 3 things in particular, I loved that Earth was separate and different.
Was it that different?
It may have not visually looked different, but also I don't, you know, just one point. I don't think that we're, you know, as humanity, I don't honestly, I think 100 years from now isn't going to look all that different than now, except our phones may be clear pieces of plastic like they are in The Expanse. You know, we may be we'll be in space hopefully, but
1,000 years.
I still don't think the arc of growth is, I think, based upon humankind's development, the arc of time is slow, and I don't. And
I would disagree.
1,000 to 2,000 is different than 2,000 to 3,000.
I think it's exponential. I think there are studies about this, about how with technology and AI are the things that the rate of change is exponential. And even Daniel's well, you know, it's all legit, right? Because we talk about the temporals all the time. Daniel's told Trip in Enterprise that Earth is unrecognizable in the 31st century. Like, because Trip was like, oh, is Earth still around? And he was like, yeah, but you wouldn't recognize it.
Yeah, I would say you wouldn't recognize it because it's holed off on its own away from the Federation.
Okay. All right, whatever.
We have different classifications of what, I mean, I get what you're talking about, but I also think that humankind doesn't change that rapidly. I think our technology and our setting may change,
but that's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about people. Sure, we don't. 1,000 years from a biological standpoint is not that much, but
exactly.
Talking about technology, the way that we, you know, build the world and create and modify
and
the world
destroy
around
a world
us.
and destroy our world. So I think that's also the part that we don't take into account. Yeah, our technology may expand, but honestly, our humanity hasn't expanded.
Well, by the 21st century, supposedly, like there's no more, you know, there's no more poverty and like blah blah blah, whatever.
Yeah.
So by then we're fine.
And then we have the burn, and then it all goes to hell when worlds are kind of.
Well, it all goes to hell from a interplanetary perspective. But Earth by itself, and even Vulcan / Navarre by itself, I think we talked about this. Like they're on their own, they're fine. It's just like the more of the.
I don't know if they're fine. I think they're a mess. I mean, obviously the Earth had been so separate that they even ignored Earthers who were on a Titan or whatever. So anyway. So I enjoyed visiting Earth. I thought Trill was especially poignant because I then went back after watching that episode and watched the DS9 episode, and the Caves of Makala are so similar and so well done that
I thought upgraded. They're pretty similar. Yeah. I'm glad they didn't like completely redo it.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
Right. But it's similar, like, but yes, better. Just like the Guardian of Forever is similar,
right?
But better,
more realized.
Yeah. So that's my third thing that I liked. The second thing I liked was the new characters. I really liked and really love Adira and Gray, and I can't wait to get to know them more. I actually really grew to like Book a lot. And also we got Admiral Vance, or Dadmiral as he's affectionately called, and also Lieutenant Wilma, who's I think
Who's
it's
that again?
Lieutenant Wilma. That's his chief security officer.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
She's a little bit of RBF though, but yes.
Yes. But still she's great.
Yeah. You
So
can
I
tell
thought that
she's
we got
serious.
some really interesting new characters.
And David Cronenberg. I wish he had more to do, but he was great.
He was great, and I'd like to see more from him as well.
Well, he's coming back in season 4. He did chat about that. So he was
cool.
like, I don't know what I'm doing. I think he was like, I don't know what I'm reading, but I'm just here. Like,
yeah, sure. I think that there's a lot of, what's really amazing in this setting, in this time that we live in, especially with the internet, that there aren't more spoilers for Star Trek out there. It's really impressive. So
good job.
Anyway, and so my number one favorite thing, and this is what I really am excited about, and it's kind of all encompassing, is the formation of a family in Star Trek, and a family of LGBTQ people.
Okay.
Paul, Hugh, Adira, and Gray are becoming this amazing family unit. And also, I think that the development of both Paul and Hugh in new and different ways. So for Paul, he's become a little bit softer and really looks to taking Adira under his wing. And Hugh, do we call him Chief Medical Officer Hugh? Do we call him
Neelix?
Chief Counselor Hugh?
Morale officer?
No, I don't think he's a morale. I think he's either.
I just wanted to retread that. I just wanted to retread
no.
I just watched Tuvix. Like,
oh gosh, no. No, he's not morale officer. He's either counselor or chief medical officer. Either way,
Neelix
it's great
was
to see.
underused.
Okay, we're not here to talk about Voyager. No more Neelix. So I am really excited to see the idea of a family forming in the 32nd century that looks and feels like families that you and I and other people in the LGBTQIA community can look to, can embrace, can feel included as part of this universe. And and this is what made this season for me, really. If you go back and you look through all of these episodes, there are pieces of this formation happening in almost every episode. So that's also why I rate it so high, is because out of this season, we do get this family and this development of Paul and Hugh, and additionally of Adira and Gray to some extent, but also the acceptance of Gray to the point where Paul has never seen him, and Hugh has gotten a chance to see him as a Vulcan and watched him disappear. So there's so many layers to that, and I just think that it's amazing to see that. And that is probably my favorite thing of this season, is having that example be a part of Star Trek for everyone to see. And that is why I gave Disco season 3 a 9, because of that, because we didn't see that before. We didn't see we saw, in season 1 we saw Paul and Hugh together, then we saw them torn apart. In season 2, definitely a lot of turmoil, but now we're really forming a family, and a family unit, and one where Paul goes, batshit crazy, for lack of a better term, on Michael, because she's sending him away, and he wants to save his family, and is losing his mind. So that is my number one reason or my number one favorite thing of this season. And over to you.
Cool. All good points. So I mentioned, there was a little bit overlap in terms of what we were talking about. So I think because it was one of the things that I was kind of looking forward to, I wish we got even more of it, but kind of revisiting some of these old spots. Earth for me was kind of a letdown, but I really liked. So obviously, Navarre for me was great because there was that emotional payoff from the Vulcans and the Romulans coming together, and that touches on one of the other items that I was really looking forward to in the season was any sort of throwbacks, Easter, whether they be Easter eggs or kind of follow-ups or resolutions to kind of these like big plot threads. I wouldn't call them maybe plot threads, like from like, old series. And Unification 3, I mean, was my favorite episode of the season. It was just so well done because of all the different things that it was trying to do, and it actually pulled it off for me.
We agree on that one thing, by the way. Out of everything we've talked about, we have the same favorite episode.
So Unification 3 was, for me, one of the things I liked the most, even though it's also like one of my top episodes. I just think that from a narrative perspective, character building perspective, throwback perspective, all these things, it's so well. And that's why Navarre was also, like, looking at Navarre and what was going on there, that was also my top, top things I liked about the season. And Tro was also interesting. Like, I wasn't like enthralled by like, the caves or whatever, but I just really liked seeing, and this was a case where, they separate from the Federation, and you saw that they culturally had changed so much. And I thought that was really interesting. I kind of wish we saw more of that kind of like, again, that world building, that deep dive into, and what the universe looks like now. And I feel that there's like definitely something untapped there, particularly because Michael was in this world, in this world for a year before she comes back into our lives, basically. So I'm sure she like, and that was weird, right? Because Michael, you remember, she was like, wait, the Vulcans renamed their planet? But I was like, wait, you've been around for a year. You should know this. In any case, she wouldn't at least maybe check a data log about like, her home planet, whatever. But yeah, I mean, like, there's so much like there that we haven't even tapped into. Like, what does she do for a full year? Anyway, chase down data boxes, black boxes, whatever. So yes, so going back to planets we're familiar with, getting an update from them. Unification 3, and then just more time with cast members other than Michael Burnham. So, being able to catch up with the secondary cast members, giving Tilly a moment to shine and really like grow as a character, and giving her new responsibilities. Saru kind of giving him a chance to be captain. Whether or not he was successful in that endeavor is up for debate. I thought he did a good job. But yeah, just I wish we had even more time with the secondary characters, but I'll take it. I'll take it. We got some of that, like whether it be playful banter or seeing them in action and seeing them kick ass together, whether it be in Prime or Mirror Universe, it was great. It was great just seeing that. So, there were things I wish we saw more of. With Detmer and her PTSD, I thought that was resolved rather quickly. In most respects, there are things like that. I still want to know Lieutenant Reese. Like, I still don't really know much about him. Like, there are things like that I'm like, all right, we can spend a little more time like with these characters, especially like if we're given, there's this setup, and then it's like, there's only so much time that's committed to them. But again, I will take it. So yeah, so those were my 3 favorite things about the season. So should we go into things that we didn't like as much?
Yeah, sure.
So you want to go first?
Sure.
I just been talking.
Well, it's funny that you say that, and I agree that we did see some growth as of the secondary crew. Mm-hmm. But so the things that I didn't like, number 3, was actually that we didn't get as much development of the secondary crew as I had hoped.
I mean,
and
I was like, I'll take it. I mean, I want more, but
yeah, I was like, you should have given us more. So Detmer aside, I think we did get to see a lot more Detmer than the others.
Yeah.
But we did get to see them also in the Mirror Universe versions in Terra Firma. So we did get to see that. But aside from that, I mean, that was 1.5 episodes or one episode if you take it. And then Detmer had
but it's more than
throughout.
past seasons.
Yeah, sure. But I thought that, part of, although one of my favorite things was all the new characters, I do still think that we need more exploration of our current crew.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things I didn't like. That was my number 3 that I didn't like. Number 2
understandable
is also something you shared. The thing that I didn't like is we didn't actually visit Navarre. We didn't actually beam down.
True, we didn't go down.
Yeah. So we hung in orbit, and we did what they did with Trill in the DS9 episode, where we didn't see any of the world basically.
We did.
Nope, so the only
no, they go to the science lab and the cave.
The science lab and the caves, and that was it. You didn't see anything. You didn't see any of those. You didn't see any vista prints of map prints of the city, like you get to see for Cardassia and other places.
Sure.
So we didn't get to see anything about what Navarre looks like at all. So I didn't like that actually.
Okay.
That was my number 2. And so the number 1 thing that I did not like about this season overall is the turbo lift shafts.
That was your number 1. Okay.
Discovery. And this actually, if Michelle Paradise could listen to 30 seconds of what I'm about to say, this would be it. Can we please have a technical manual, and can you please follow it? Can you please not give us, as Dan Davidson loves to say, the TARDIS interior of the Discovery, which is not possible. That is my biggest thing, dislike of this season. And it did take me out. We talked a lot about it last episode. They showed it a few other times in the season as well.
Even in season 2, there were a few shots, but it was much less blatant than this. This was just on a level.
This was on another level, and it's just not possible. It's not, I don't care if we're in the 32nd century. They did not build a trans-dimensional interior of a starship that just goes on and on and on and on forever. It
just also doesn't make sense. Like, because there was, so I was reading this comment because there was an episode of Enterprise where they find like, it was a time travel vessel or something, and the inside was bigger than the outside, but it was by no means like this. Like they went in, it looked like a really tiny ship, and then they found like an engine room, and they were like, how is this possible? So there's a little play on space, but this was just another, it was like unnecessary. Like it doesn't make any sense. Like even if you don't make it bigger, why this ginormous space for turbo lifts? Like maybe storage, I don't know, or something. If you can,
there isn't, like
it was just
Jeffries
like it didn't make
tubes.
sense.
Yeah, there's no Jeffries tubes. There's no, it just doesn't make
like
sense.
Why are the corridors so tiny compared to this like massive space for turbo lifts?
Exactly. So it's just and it's a it was built in the 2200s, and so it should have followed a very specific bridge layout, like ship layout, and it never did. And so I would love a Discovery tech manual, and I would love for the writers and everyone to follow it, because that is actually what one of the things that Star Trek has been good about in all of these 55 plus years is that. And so I had a real problem with that.
They need someone like Michael Okuda, like a technical consultant, to be like, no, like do not do this, because it doesn't make sense. It's just like so odd. I don't know why there's no.
Well, and I think it ties to the fact that they make this so cinematic, and we talked actually about this in the preview episode. Is when after we watched that first scene, like there's just too much going on, right? They overdo it. They overdid it in the season 2 finale with like thousands of those little ships flying around. Like it's just too much. And the other thing too is that they really have to realize that I don't know how many percent, I'm going to say like 75 and above % of people are not watching this on a big screen TV. Like, granted, you have a big TV. We have a big TV here. I don't always watch it on there. I watch it on my iPad. I watch it on my computer. I watch it on my phone. But in this day and age, like things like that. The other thing that bothers me, not necessarily about Discovery, but about other shows, is when they use really small type on like the intro and like all that bothers me as well. But anyway, like it doesn't need to be movie level cinematic, because most of the time people are not watching CBS All Access on on a big screen TV. That's my feeling. I still, we have a big screen TV. I don't even know how big it is. It's not as big as yours, but I still end up watching most of the episodes on a 32-inch television or on my iPad.
Right.
So it just doesn't make sense to have this need to make it so cinematic. Like, spend that money either on better, I don't know, better sets, or not that I love their sets, but invest it in sets, or invest it in writing where we get to know the secondary crew, or more, or we get to see Navarre, the planet, things like that. Like do some offsite shooting, like they did for Trill, and for the world that Michael crashes on. They went to Iceland for that. So just I don't know. So that's the thing about Discovery that really bothers me the most, and
I think
that I didn't like.
I feel Discovery, one of the issues with Discovery is that sometimes, I don't know I feel they think that bigger is better, but I think that someone needs to be editing this in a more like discerning fashion, where they're like, no, we don't need this kind of scene, because that scene didn't even do anything for me. It wasn't that interesting, even in terms of action, is like, whatever, they basically need someone to be cutting stuff. Like, they need like a Tim Gunn on set to be like, is this necessary? It's a lot of look, like just to like edit back. You don't need this to make a good looking show, So in any case, so yeah, so in terms of the things that I disliked, I had like 3.5 or 4. So one already mentioned, I felt that there was a lack of imagination when it comes to what the future looks like. Yeah, I just feel that there was some lost opportunity in terms of how different it could have been. I don't need to rehash that. I talked about this when we talked about the finale, and this goes along with what you're saying when it comes to the turbo lifts and things like that. But them kind of being very loosey-goosey with like science, technology, common sense sometimes. There's just like a lack of thoughtfulness in some ways when it comes to stuff like that. Because the world building for me is such an important factor. Like even the things with the shielding, like shields and transport, like those things take me out of the viewing of the episode, because it's very clear-cut rules or common sense, and it's like it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. It's very, very, very distracting, and they should fix that somehow. So my other thing, okay, so this is my last thing that I dislike, and I realized when I was kind of listening to our last episode, and I was talking about this, I realized I didn't really explain why I said this upon kind of listening to what I talked about. And that was when I was saying, when I watched the finale, I kind of had like a existential crisis. So I had an existential crisis as a Star Trek fan for 2 reasons. One was because of the technology and, the lack of basically respect for science technology. The other thing for me is just like, I don't really know how much I like Michael Burnham as a character, or Sonequa Martin Green as an actress, which is a problem, because she is the central pillar to Discovery. I do not like that Michael Burnham, and I've talked about this at length. I do not like Michael Burnham is constantly our Lord and Savior, always. I also think that Sonequa Green, I feel that she's more of a stage actress. Like I feel she's very, very, very dramatic. I think she's very heavy-handed in her acting. She's not subtle. Discovery is not subtle. Like, it's kind of a heavy-handed show. Like even like what we were saying before about kind of the formation of a family, which I totally respect. And, I do like that finally on Star Trek, we're kind of exploring this idea of family, and particularly from a non-cisgender perspective, right? But I feel like Discovery and Star Trek, they were kind of behind the game when it came to exploring those kind of relationships and people who were non-binary, people who are transgender. And I feel like there was a lot of fanfare about it. And I'll compare this with The Expanse because, again, that is so top of mind for me. So in The Expanse, for those of you your listeners that don't watch The Expanse, there is like one subplot in The Expanse of this part of season that we're watching where there is a polyamorous like unit. And I'm talking about Drummer's family, right? The polyamorous, but they don't make a big deal about it. It's just there, And even though I was like, oh, are they kind of just sleeping with each other? And then I was like, wait, they're one family, and it's very subtle, and it's just it just is, It's very natural. No one questions it. They're just a family. Discovery is not a subtle show. Everything I feel, and this is Sonequa Martin's Green acting, and it maybe plays well into Discovery as a show, is that it is heavy-handed acting. It is everything. It's always a hammer, not a chisel. She's always she's always on a soapbox. Everything's a speech. I don't know. It's just like, I don't know. It's just like I have such issues with Discovery. So the Existential Crisis, I don't know how much I like Discovery as a show, in general. Especially compared to my favorites, TNG and DS9, where sometimes you had, TNG was kind of superficial sometimes, but DS9, sometimes you have to kind of figure, there are all these like I talked about, I think, was it last episode? Like all these gray areas, where it wasn't kind of handed to you on a soapbox. It was kind of like you had to figure out as a viewer if you agree or disagree with the decisions being made, or what's the right thing, or what's the right decision. Discovery is just like not that kind of show, and I don't know if I like it as a show. So again, that to elaborate, that's why I was like, when I was watching the finale, I literally had an existential crisis. I was like, I don't know if I like this, and it's a problem for me. So
yeah, I would definitely say that bringing that up, the way that you rated the seasons definitely would make me question whether you liked Discovery. And a 6 on any other scale would be failing for the most part, but
it's like okay.
Yeah,
okay.
But if you aren't resonating with the main character or the main actor who plays them, then of course, you may not like it. And I think that's okay. So
I'm still a Star Trek fan, don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
it's just like, it's just, I don't know.
And to go back to a previous point that you made that I didn't want to interrupt you for, but I think that as far as Discovery goes, I'm hoping that this is not going to be the case with Picard season 2, but I think it balances itself more on the fantasy side rather than the sci-fi, the science or the science fiction part of sci-fi. So it's
been a
sci-fi
through line, even season 2, like time crystals. I was like, what the fuck is a time crystal?
Yeah, sure.
What the fuck is that?
Yeah, sure. Or the way that they age on that planet too. So
Wait,
the way that Takuma's child grows, he's an adult because of the way that the whole environment works. Yeah, they just dropped him off not too long ago. So so I think that it's it does edge on more of the fantasy side of science fiction fantasy than it does on the sci-fi side of it.
Right.
And I hope that it doesn't become a completely fantasy show, that it does go back to being science fiction.
Which is why I was so snarky.
Science-based fiction, which is part of the problem. So I think that
Right.
I understand that piece of it. And as you were talking, that kind of pieced it together. Like it airs on more of the fantasy side of this than it does on the science side of it. And
Right.
it's unfortunate.
I think,
But-
and that's why when I showed you an article where Alex Kurtzman was teasing season 4, and he's like, "We're gonna get into the science of it." I was like, "Are you? Or is it gonna be more magic? Like, give me a break. Like, I'll believe it when I see it."
Yeah, I didn't pick up
you know.
on your sarcasm, but after you said I'm being sarcastic, it all made sense. Of course, yes, you would. Yeah, I agree. I didn't read his comments except for what you sent me.
Right, that was it.
That was it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I don't know.
It sounds like next season, based on what Alex Kurtzman saying, is going to be another like mystery box. It's like,
sure. I mean, it's fun. This.
Sure.
We see this is the format that they're used to. This is the format that they're doing. This is what Discovery is going to be. It's going to be a 13 episode arc show where you are introduced at the beginning. You get little adventures throughout. Some of them, as you say, fetch quests. A lot of them. And at the end, in the last 2 episodes, it kind of wraps up the mystery of the whole season and then throws a nice bow on it. I mean, that's going to be Discovery, and so hopefully, Picard and Lower Decks and Strange New Worlds will cover other ways of storytelling that won't kind of do that. And from everything we've heard about Strange New Worlds, which isn't much, but it's going to be very much an episodic show. So I think, and going back to Next Generation or the original series, that kind of format, which is totally fine and good. I love a variety of different things for Star Trek, and I hope that they don't do another. I mean, they had a 10 episode arc in Picard, but I felt like that was you got payoffs along the way that were pretty big. And big enough to kind of sustain you throughout the show. Right. So Discovery is a different animal and a different beast. And so, so I think we can just expect more of the same. And, if you don't enjoy it, you don't enjoy it.
So watch it.
Yeah, you'll still watch it. So, yeah, there we go.
Cool. So should we talk about our favorite episodes and our least favorite episodes?
Yeah.
So what were some of your top? What were you gonna say?
Oh, I was gonna go the other way. Why don't we start with the bottom and then end on the top?
Okay. So I'll go first this time.
Yes, please.
Because I haven't talked at length. So
in the last 5 minutes, you haven't talked at length.
Yes. So my least favorite episode is the finale. That Hope Is You, part 2. I hated it. Disliked it strongly. Hate's a strong word, but I really didn't like it. And I don't need to get into it because I already talked about that length already. And I don't think there were a lot of episodes I really disliked. Like, I think a lot of the episodes are actually fine. I think the only other one that I would probably say I didn't like as much would be The Sanctuary, which is when they go to Book's planet. Only because it was kind of like a catch-up episode, and then the main thing with the whole thing between Book and his brother, I didn't really think was that compelling, and that was like the central, that was the A plot. So I thought that was kind of a weak episode. I'm glad we caught over everyone else, as we mentioned in our review, but otherwise I thought that was kind of like just like whatever episode. But I have to say, like, most of the episodes were like fine, like they were like middle of the road, fine, not bad, and then there were a few stellar ones. But for me, it was probably The Sanctuary and That Hope Is You part 2 that I would say I disliked. What about you?
For me, so my least favorite one was Die Trying. With Nan and the ship and the kind of the fetch quest. I think that it was my least favorite mainly because they got to Federation headquarters and then they were kind of like distrusted, and it was not the welcome that they expected or that I expected, and I just didn't.
I thought about this episode too as a bottom one, but I didn't because we were introduced to the Federation headquarters, and I was like, but that part kind of raised the
it didn't it was more about the way that they were treated, and and also just
okay.
the adventure on, and it's a great Hugh episode. Hugh Culber was in it, so that was my least favorite episode probably of the season. The one just above that would be Far From Home, which was episode 2. And what I'll tell you, it was hard to rank. I ranked all of these, and I just kind of went through and I said, what would I go back and watch, and what would I wouldn't, and what what kind of things did I see? And Far From Home, really, it kind of came down to introducing Zara and watching Tilly and Saru go on this fetch quest again. So it's not a lot for me to be excited about in the episode. So our crew arrives, they crash land. I got it. They're, Michelle Yeoh is Giorgio is pissed.
Badass moment.
Yeah, badass moments. Again, like I said earlier, every episode has a highlight, at least one or two. That would probably be the moment from this, but it just wasn't great for me. And then the other one, the one just above that, would be Scavengers. I mean, it was great to see Michael and Giorgio kind of go off on their own and go rogue, but also not a lot to really to make me want to go back and kind of watch that again. And interestingly enough, just above that one is the first part, That Hope Is You Part 1. Simply because, I mean, you get some there, again, some pieces you like, but again, am I going to go back and watch it? I don't know. I don't think so. So maybe just to watch the bazaar scene where they get to Sanctuary, or whatever it's called. Not Sanctuary, but whatever they call the city that they go and trade in. And
yeah, that was fine. I didn't mind it. It was a setup episode.
Yeah. So you'll kind of see that most of these are setup episodes or kind of filler episodes. And the Sanctuary was just above that. So that was kind of my bottom list. And again, I like I said, I can find something good in all of them. It's whether I will go back and watch them again.
Sure. Yeah.
So
sure.
Do you want to share your top episodes for the season?
So my favorite episodes, Unification 3, already mentioned that. Great episode, favorite episode of the season. There is a Tide, which I also really liked, because it gave us these really great moments, whether it be between Vance and Rosara, and we got to see some like, I don't know. It was like some like machinations, back and forth and stuff like that. I thought that was always interesting, and we don't get enough of this in Star Trek anymore, but sometimes these like, just like these scenes where people are talking and you can see them like, they're like negotiating or playing diplomat, and this used to be a joke about Star Trek versus Star Wars, right? Like, sometimes a thrilling scene in Star Trek would be like people around a conference table and they're just like, like Star Trek 6 would be perfect. That dinner scene between when the Klingons come on board, and people would make fun of it. But honestly, for Star Trek, that's honestly some of my favorite stuff. Like, you just know that these people are coming from so many different perspectives, and you're seeing them like hash it out. It's a little awkward, but I miss that about Star Trek, when some of the most thrilling scenes are conversations versus, things blowing up. So I really like that about this episode, like, that statecraft that, they're both employing, and you're trying to see like, what are they going for? What are they willing to, how far are they willing to go? Like, I really like that a lot. And then we also talk about this a little bit, but the things are going on between Michael and Stamets, setting up that conflict, and whether or not you agree with how Stamets reacted and how Michael took charge of the situation. I thought that set up a lot of great character drama. So that was actually, so that episode really did it for me. And then finally, it's kind of a cheap, but Terraformer parts 1 and 2. I thought it was a good send-off for JoJo. I did have a few qualms with this episode with the characterization of JoJo, but overall, I love Mirror Universe. It's just so much fun. It gives all the cast great. This is where being over the top, being dramatic is perfect. And I don't have an issue when that's the case with Mirror Universe, So it's just like it's just a fun time. So yeah, those would be my 3 favorite episodes. I mean, Terraformer rather is technically a 2-parter, but yeah. So those would be mine. What about you?
Well, that's pretty funny. So my favorite one of the season was Unification 3.
Okay.
It was the number 1 episode for me.
Mhm.
I don't think I'll ever forget seeing Ambassador Spock,
Yes.
in Michael's quarters with Michael and Book
so
looking
good.
at him and hearing his Leonard Nimoy's voice again.
Yes, R.I.P.
Yeah. So just a great episode.
So good.
And that was a lot of great banter, and for me, like, conversations and banter is what I look forward to the most. So for instance, the banter at the dinner scene in Star Trek 6 is the reason why I like it. Just the banter, all the way down to McCoy saying, "I'm gonna go find a pot of coffee," and Chekhov on the bridge saying, my head is like a warp core explosion or something. I forget, so witty banter like that, and that translates across not just across Star Trek, but across sci-fi, not just across sci-fi, but across all shows. Like Sports Night is one of my favorite, and The West Wing are 2 of my favorite shows of all time because of the way that the banter is so natural and so witty and so on point. So and so my second one is Terra Firma Parts 1 and 2.
Yes.
A great send-off from Michelle Yeoh's Emperor Georgiou. We get to go back to the Mirror Universe or a Mirror Universe. I don't think it's the Mirror Universe, but it's a Mirror Universe.
Yeah.
So, we get to say goodbye. We get the Guardian of Forever, like a lot of great moments. And, to go back to something that I didn't like, which I said was an exception, like the way that we get to see the bridge crew in the Mirror Universe was really great. And then my third most favorite, so I grouped those together. So my third favorite episode of this season was That Hope Is You Part 2. I said it last week in last week's episode. I loved it. It was great Star Trek for me. There Is a Tide is number 4 for me. So for us, for us, for the most part, the only one we disagree on is That Hope Is You. But That Hope Is You, it's still a great episode of Star Trek to me. And seeing Michael Burnham in the captain's chair is amazing, and honestly something that we've waited for 3 seasons for. So
I have not waited for that, but
I know you haven't. I will say this though, I do agree with you about the Michael Burnham being the savior of everything, and my hope is that now that she's captain, we'll get to see some other characters kind of do the heavy lifting when it comes to saving the ship or saving the universe, or where she's the type of leader that empowers her crew to kind of do those things. And
that'd be nice.
So my hope for season 4 is that we'll get to see some of that, and that we'll get to see a different character, and it won't be that she needs to save the universe. So
I guess for me it was never important. I think when Discovery was first announced, and then we were given this idea that the main character wouldn't be the captain, I was actually totally on board with that, because I was like, let's break with tradition. For me, Michael just never had to be captain. Like, it was interesting to kind of see our focus be on someone else other than the captain. So, she never had to be captain. Like, for me, I guess, obviously, we have a different opinion here. She didn't need that rank to be able to do what she does. She can continue to be the savior of the universe, sure. But I actually enjoy Saru as captain. I don't. I know we can.
I enjoyed Saru as a captain, and
having a non-human captain.
Yeah.
I really liked it, and it just gave Doug
Sure.
Jones a
And
chance
we
to
have no
pass.
idea what's going to happen in season 4. So who knows what's going to happen? Maybe she will go back to not being the captain again. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
she did take it from a humble place, and I think that
sure.
one of the things that is important, in my experience in the real world and in leadership, is that when someone who craves leadership is given that role, they usually abuse it, or they're not there for the right reasons. And I think that Michael Burnham represents the other side of that coin. Someone who is reluctant to be the leader. Even on the bridge before she became captain, she consults with Tilly, and Tilly says, "No, take it. We want to follow you." I think that she takes that very humbly and very so the savior part for me doesn't apply to when she becomes captain. And that's also why she's kind of thrust into it and chosen and asked to lead. And I think that's an important perspective and something important to watch and see. So hopefully they'll follow that through in the coming seasons if they decide to keep her captain, with that kind of perspective of she's now the leader, and what the leader does is make everyone else shine.
Yeah.
And I think that's my hope for season 4, is if that happens. So that's also, so that's why I really do love That Hope Is You.
And my hope for season 4 and onward is that Michael now that Michael's captain, let's just let her be captain. The problem with the captaincy of Discovery is that it's been a little bit like the Defense Against the Dark Arts position at Hogwarts. It's like no one can stay in that chair for longer than a year.
Yeah.
So let's just let her be captain, and we don't need someone else to like captain Discovery. It's just like it's like musical chairs, like unnecessary.
Yeah. I totally agree, and that's a great Hogwarts is a great example of that. Yeah,
exactly.
So yeah,
great. Cool. So now that we've talked about our top and bottom episodes, I thought it would be good for us to just kind of look back at our preview of season 3, and we already kind of touched on some of this, but just to see, like what we wanted going into the season and how much of that we actually got out of these 13 episodes.
Damn it, Michael, look at me!
Osira will destroy what is left of the Federation. And she's gonna use you to do it.
No, we have time. Right now, you and me, let's go. We have time. What are you doing? No. We came to the future for you. We followed you. You followed you. We gave up everything so you wouldn't have to be here alone. How can you do this?
I'm sorry.
Michael!
So, Mike, why don't you start?
Okay. My number 1 was who's going to be captain. We just talked about that. But it's also an answer that we got really early in the season with Captain Saru. So, and my other question was, how does a crash Discovery get off the planet? Michael tractors them off. So,
okay, sure.
There we go.
Okay.
Number 2, Stamets and Culber. Obviously, one of my favorite things of the season.
Yeah.
Meeting Adira and Gray and exploring them. Again, part of the Hugh and Paul family unit. I think that was really, and I think that this is why I loved this season. So we hit the things that were more important to me than the things that were more important to you, I think. And we'll get there. But
though going into this, though, I was hoping for more when it comes to Ian Alexander. I felt that he got I felt that he got sidelined a little bit with the whole nature of his character, unfortunately. But hopefully we'll get more of that in season 4. That's the hope anyway.
Yeah,
I definitely thought especially with the big press announcement, I thought he'd have more to do.
Yeah, I of course, as did I, and I think that as I've said before, we needed to shed some characters in order to make room for new characters, and we've got some great new characters. So let's hope that we don't go out there and continue to add on to the crew, that we focus on the secondary crew and focus on these new characters that we've already got on there.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
we didn't get a new Discovery theme with the new logo, but we did see some updates, not a lot of a few updates in the intro.
Yeah,
The
maybe they do
opening.
that every year. They always do.
Yeah.
It's a little
So
different.
yeah,
I know you
that's
don't
fine.
love the Discovery theme or the.
I like it.
blueprints
I don't love it,
animation.
but yeah, it doesn't
I
have
really,
the.
yeah, it's funny. I really like it. I really like the
I
Discovery
know
theme.
you do. Yeah.
And I also love the blueprint. It's so different from what we've gotten in past title sequences. But
Yeah.
yeah.
What is the burn? So again, that was my number 5.
Mm.
So when we found out it was Sukal and what that entailed, I was like, fine, that's good. And also just one last point, I don't know if I've made it clear, but I think that the impact of one person doing all of this damage is pretty great. And I think it's a great explanation for why Saru steps away from Discovery to go help this this being do that. So, and it did take the whole season, as we talked about. So when we talked in the preview episode, we were like, oh, it'll be solved in a few episodes. Okay, maybe half the season. Well, it actually took the whole season. So,
but I am glad that they revealed like what the burn was, at least the impact of the burn in the first episode. Like it didn't take us like 3 episodes just to like figure out, like, to discover what the burn was,
Yeah, sure.
Like I was like afraid they would drag even that part out, but book explains it like right away.
Yeah.
Like, oh, interesting.
Yep. Yeah. So, and then my 6th one was seeing the whole bridge crew and what their status is. We've talked at length about that. So yeah. So that was what I was looking forward to in the season. I think my top 3 were kind of fulfilled in a lot of great ways. So I'm pretty happy.
Yeah. So my number 1 was What is the Burn, which to me was kind of a bust. It was kind of underwhelming in terms of kind of that whole opening that mystery box and kind of discovering what happened there. It was like, whatever. For me, the payoff was not worth the edging that we got in this.
But that was part of a triumvirate of questions to your number 1.
Yes. So yes, edging of the burn did not culminate in something satisfactory for me. But also, what is the deal with the Federation right now? We got that for sure.
We got that.
We did, but it would have been great to kind of delve a little bit deeper. And even playing into what we're talking about before, like being able to explore the ships, like other ships, and like more of that world building aspect. Other than kind of being stuck on Discovery, at least we saw like headquarters, that was nice, and everything's like, program matter, blah, 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 whatever. Might as well be a big holodeck for sure. Sure. And then also like the current state of the galaxy. So that was more playing into the socio-political, which we got, because that's why I liked our Unification 3 so much, even though we didn't get to visit Navarre, you're right. I didn't actually even think about that until you mentioned it. Because we got people coming up from the planet, and for me, it was great to see the council of the quorum, and to see them kind of bicker a little bit. That maybe that goes into like what we're talking about, or what I liked about in terms of what I like to see earlier when it comes to seeing these different perspectives come to the table, and they weren't at a conference table necessarily, but you still see that they're coming from such different POVs, and they all want the best for the people, but it's like the state of disagreement. So that was one glimpse of it that I really liked, but I want more. So moving on to number 2, more time with the secondary crew. Again, we got some of that. Whether or not that was satisfactory is another matter, but at least we got something. Throwbacks to previous Star Trek series. So we got a little bit of this as well. Again, why Unification 3 was so good, but could have got more of that. Number 4 for me was seeing new cast members, particularly with Blue and Ian. Yes. More time for Ian could have been warranted, but again, I'll take it. So the next point for me was the emotional fallout of traveling 1,000 years into the future and the effect that it had on the crew. So we definitely got some of this, particularly with what we were saying before with Detmer in particular, but then Cole realizing that it wasn't just Detmer, it was like a lot of people on the ship. And one of the things that we didn't talk about was, I don't remember which episode it was, but when they did have that awkward dinner, remember when Saru invited them to dinner and we got all of them at one table and it was awkward as shit, you know? And Detmer was like, Detmer was basically crazy. Like she was like out of her mind.
Yeah, she was.
But
so was Stamets. Stamets was having his
they're all struggling.
He was having his little ego trip, and it's kind of unfortunate because Bryce and Reese didn't really say too much at the dinner.
There could have been more, I think, cultivated in that scene, but at least we got this takeaway that everyone kind of wasn't in a good place.
Okay, yeah.
I wish I got more, but again, I'll take it. It was again an exploration of where they were at emotionally, their psyche, and also giving us more of an opportunity to see these characters talk to each other. It was great. So those were my five things that I really wanted to get out of the season. We definitely got some of it. Some of my top ones were a little bit less fulfilled, but overall, sure. Yes.
So there we go.
Yeah.
Well, that is a rather long review of season 3.
Yeah, that was a lot to go through, but here we are.
And so we'd love to hear what you, our dear listeners, think about season 3 as a whole. So if you'd like to share your thoughts with us, how can they reach us, Johnson?
Yes, so you can email us at deepspacepride@gmail.com, or you can reach us through Facebook. No, Facebook is wrong. Or you can reach us through Instagram and Twitter. I forgot. All right, whatever. I forgot that we don't have Facebook. You can also reach us through not Facebook, but through Twitter and Instagram, and our handles there is simply at Deep Space Pride. So yeah, we'd love to hear from you. But otherwise, that's it for Discovery Season 3.
And all Mike, new Trek.
That's and Mike, do we even know what we're talking about next?
No, so it'll be a surprise to our viewers.
It'll be a surprise for all of us.
For all of us.
We haven't talked about this.
We're working on some things, but I don't know when they'll come together. So we'll figure it out. We hope you'll come back here and join us next week when we have another episode of
something
Deep Space Pride.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. All right.
Bye, everyone.
Well, thanks, everyone. Bye.
Deep Space Pride is a production of Coconut Media Works. Executive producers Bill Smith and Dan Davidson. For more great Star Trek discussion, discover the other shows of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network at trekgeeks.com or find us in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app.
Coconut.